I've been thinking a lot lately about the cumulative effects of what we consume. That slow drip desensitization that comes from the endless, casual scroll through horrors, both real and imagined. It's a feeling I'm sure you know. That digital burnout where the line blurs between genuine empathy and the detached consumption of content. What the kids these days might call brain rot. We've all become armchair connoisseurs of tragedy, and the true crime boom is perhaps the most potent symptom of this. We mainline documentaries, podcasts, and forum threads about the worst things one human can do to another. And we do it for what? For entertainment? For justice? Or just to feel something? Pascal Plant's 2023 film, Red Rooms, is a film that, for me, crystallizes these anxieties. It's a deeply unsettling, cold, and meticulous piece of work that holds up a black mirror to the true crime audience. Red Rooms isn't a serial killer movie. It's a horror film about the audience. It's a frightening, nihilistic examination of the void that digital voyeurism creates. And a deeply personal, for me at least, allegory for the all-too-real disconnect of our online lives. This video contains spoilers, so consider watching the film first before you continue. And if you like what you see, click the like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and make sure to click the little bell to be notified for new videos. On the surface, Red Rooms is a courtroom thriller. The film follows Kelly Ann, a high-fashion model who, by night, is a crypto-gambling obsessive. She spends her days in the public gallery of the trial of Ludovic Chevalier, a man accused of the horrific torture and murder of 3 young girls, which he allegedly live-streamed in mythological red rooms on the dark web. Imagine the killer of Megan is Missing if that guy was ever caught. Chevalier looks more like Moby than Charles Manson though, so it's understandable why a contingent of groupies, mostly young women, think that the police have the wrong man.
J'ai vu quelque chose de doux dans son regard, quelque chose de beau.
Silerophilia is the love of people who commit heinous crimes, a concept the film tiptoes up to but never really confirms.
J'en profite, j'ai un petit mot à dire à ces groupies. Ben, on vous voit. Puis vous êtes obscène. Obscène.
Plant's craft here is impeccable. This film is cold. The cinematography is all sterile compositions, static frames, and muted, almost sickly colors. It mirrors Kelly Ann's own detachment. The camera rarely moves unless it's to perform a slow, creeping zoom, usually onto a screen or onto a character's face as they watch a screen. The sound design is a masterpiece of anxiety, not with jump scares, save one pretty good one, but with the relentless amplified click of the mouse, the hum of the courtroom fluorescent lights, and the muffled playback of horrific testimony. While an American film might give you the amped-up thrills of a Saw or a Hostel, Red Room's most powerful choice is its restraint. We never, ever see the violence. We don't see the Red Room videos, or even any Red Rooms. We only see the reactions to them. A judge's trembling hand, a juror's nauseated face, the dispassionate description from a prosecutor. If there is a part of our lizard brain that enjoys watching man's inhumanity to man, Red Rooms is not going to give us that enjoyment. It's going to let us sit with the consequences. Plant weaponizes our own voyeurism against us. We, the audience, have become so desperate to see, to know the truth, and the film implicitly judges us for it. It forces us to sit in the same seat as Kelly Ann, staring at the back of the killer's head, listening to the indescribable, and forces us to ask, why do I want to be here? It's a bleak, uncompromising, and deeply psychological experience.
Don't you blame the movies! Movies don't create psychos! Movies make psychos more creative!
How you interpret the events of the film may come down to which theory of media consumption you subscribe to. George Gerbner's cultivation theory says that media is injected into our veins, affecting how we see the world. We are nothing if not a collection of experiences, and watching a movie becomes part of our knowledge base, especially if it's emotionally engaging, like a good horror movie. This is less, I watch Halloween and it makes me kill my neighbors, and more, I watch Halloween so I check my closets and under my bed at night. The former is what libertarian critics tend to argue against because it's an easier straw man. But the latter is just as dangerous if you own a shotgun and your media consumption consists of news organizations telling you about foreign invasions of criminal immigrants and an app where people complain about dark-skinned teenagers walking on people's lawns.
A fist bump, a pound, a terrorist fist jab?
One of the primary critics of cultivation theory is Elihu Katz, who posited a competing theory on people's behavior in media consumption. We don't act because our behavior is shaped by media. Both the media we consume and the behavior we engage in have the common cause of our appetites and attitudes. He called this uses and gratifications theory. You use media to gratify your wants and needs. You watch a sad movie after a breakup. You pick a pulse-pounding jam when you're at the gym. You put on short and sweet for your goon sesh. In short, Gerbner believed that the media were doing things to you, while Katz believed you were doing things with media. But I'm not so sure that those two things are mutually exclusive. In fact, I think they might be mutually reinforcing. Now, before we get into the full deep dive, we have to talk about the film's central literary metaphor, which is just on the nose enough to tell us how to read the film, and just obscure enough for us to feel intellectually haughty when we recognize the iconography. Kellyanne's online identity, her screen name, her desktop background, is the Lady of Shalott. This isn't just a stylistic flourish she found on a Canva template. It is the fundamental key to her entire psychology. For me, this is the core of her character. If you know the poem, the Lady of Shalott lives in a tower isolated from the world. A curse forbids her from looking directly at reality, in this case Camelot. Instead, she can only view the world through its reflection in a mirror, and she spends her days weaving what she sees. A copy of a copy. A mediated, second-hand existence. Kellyanne's apartment is her tower. Her computer screen is her mirror. She is a digital Lady of Shalott, experiencing her life, her finances, her identity, her social world, through a glowing reflection. This worldview perfectly primes her for the media circus of the trial. She is already a creature of voyeurism, a person who lives by consuming shadows. She is not a normal person being corrupted by media, she is a person whose reality is mediated. Kellyanne doesn't live in reality or seem to have an internal life. She is merely a collection of observations, a model whose purpose it is to be looked at, and a voyeur to do the looking. In this way, she's like a media bulimic, consuming the world around her without ever actually digesting it. And this is the film's bleakest, most brilliant subversion. In the poem, the Lady of Shalott finally cracks. She sees her idealized knight, Sir Lancelot, in the mirror, and becomes half sick of shadows. She looks out the window at the real man, and the curse descends. And it is no doubt significant that the target of Kellyanne's obsession is named Chevalier, the French word for knight. Kellyanne has been staring at the shadows of the trial, the news reports, the courtroom sketches, the other fans. But in Ludovic Chevalier, she finds Sir Lancelot. He is the real object that makes her sick of the pale reflections. To us, he's the anti-Lancelot, an icon not of idealized virtue, but of idealized, authentic evil. She is primed and compelled to do what the lady did, to break that mirror, to look out the window, to bypass the mediation, and seek the real thing, which, for Kellyanne, is Chevalier's final missing snuff video. This literary framework is what makes her the perfect subject for the media effects we're about to discuss. The core of the film is the contrast between two fans of the trial. On one side, you have Clementine, a young woman who perfectly embodies the stereotypical true crime consumer. She's emotional, empathetic, and lonely. She sees the trial as a group activity. She's there to bear witness, to defend the wrongly accused, and to find community in the shared horror. She is in many ways the healthy, if misguided, face of the phenomenon. And then there's Kellyanne. She is not the stereotype. She's cold, she's intellectual, she's wealthy. And where Clementine is lonely, Kellyanne is solitary. She doesn't gasp at the testimony. She notes it. She doesn't weep for the victims. She studies them. She embodies the obsessive consumer, but she subverts our expectations of why she's consuming. She doesn't seem to be there for justice. she's certainly not there for empathy. She's there for something I can only describe as communion. Kellyanne and Clementine seem to find communion together. But while Clementine follows the trial because she thinks Chevalier is innocent, Kellyanne knows he's guilty. And after several days of eating together, watching the trial together, playing racquetball together, and just hanging out in Kellyanne's barren, sterile apartment, Kellyanne reveals that she has the first 2 Red Room videos. Clementine is initially curious, thinking she will see definitive proof of Chevalier's innocence. Of course, what actually happens is that Clementine's worldview is shattered. While we never see the video, it's apparent from Clementine's reaction that she no longer has a doubt about Chevalier's guilt. What is in doubt, both for Clementine and for us, is why Kellyanne had her watch the video. At one point, Clementine says she's had enough, but Kellyanne makes her continue to watch. And because we never get a peek under the hood at Kellyanne's motivations in the film, we're never really sure if she's showing Clementine out of tough love or out of a perverse voyeuristic appetite for other people's misery.
Tu prends ton temps, tu es patiente, puis tu les saignes à blanc. Moi, c'est ça mon trip, là, les voir toutes perdre. Shit. T'es evil.
This is Pascal Plante's artist statement. He's exploring the harrowing endpoint of a culture saturated with violent media.
I stumbled across the phenomenon of murder groupies, basically, but it felt like there was one component missing, which is the whole ecosystem that exists around the killers. But then there would be like one shot of the fans, and I was like, I want to film about them.
We, as media scholars, or just as people, often talk about the effects of media, sometimes dismissing them with what's called the third-person effect, the belief that violent media affects other people, the less intelligent or the less stable, the rubes, but not us. We think we're immune, that we can watch all this stuff and remain unchanged, objective observers. Plante's film argues that this is a lie. The consumption of this media is the effect. It doesn't just pass through us. It changes the shape of our insides. It hollows us out. In not appearing affected the way Clementine is, Kellyanne is the effect. She is what happens when a person with a pre-existing void, a Lady of Shalott primed for digital detachment, tries to fill that void with the most potent, most real content she can find. The observation of pure, unfiltered evil. The film's most horrifying and memorable scene features Kellyanne inexplicably dressing as the murdered Camille, complete with blonde wig, blue contacts, Camille's schoolgirl outfit, and to top it off, braces. All this to sit in the audience of Chevalier's trial. We're never given a full explanation of why she does this. Whether it's the true crime version of Shakespeare's The Place, the Thing, a strategy to get Chevalier to reveal something, or whether Kellyanne has simply gotten so deep into the case that the next logical step is cosplay as a kinky birthday gift for the killer. Regardless of her intent, Chevalier does acknowledge her with a sardonic, clownish frown and a little wave. This causes Kellyanne to erupt with a frightening, bug-eyed smile, which is easily one of the most disturbing moments of the film, as again, we're left to wonder if Kellyanne is smiling because Chevalier has confirmed his guilt to her, or because she's finally gotten Senpai to notice her. Much like the Lady of Shalott, whose target Lancelot does acknowledge her grace and beauty after she's gone, being seen by Chevalier, while clearly thrilling, is the catalyst that kills Kellyanne as we've seen her to that point. Security tosses her from the courtroom, Camille's parents are mortified about the incident in front of the press, and Kellyanne loses her modeling gigs for being a wackadoo. This culminates in the film's ending, which is mean-spirited and anti-cathartic, and therefore one of my genuinely favorite endings. Kellyanne, through her online poker winnings, succeeds. She buys the missing video, the pièce de résistance of Chevalier's cruelty, the one showing the final agonizing moments of his youngest victim. Because he is briefly unmasked in the video, it's the one piece of evidence that could seal his fate and provide closure. We watch as her face, previously a mask of cold composure, breaks. The mirror cracks. She sobs, she trembles, she convulses. And then, horrifically, her sobs contort into something else. A smile. A look of ecstatic, almost religious rapture. And what does she do with it? She doesn't give it to the police, at least not directly. She watches it, in a reaction shot that recalls Keir Dullea staring intently at HAL 9000. We cannot see the video. We only see her. In that moment, she is not a victim. She is not an investigator. She's not an observer. She is a worshiper. Kellyanne's journey is an allegory for our desensitization. She sought the Red Room not to condemn it, but to possess it. The film forces us to confront the idea that, in our endless quest to understand evil, to get inside the mind of the killer, we risk not catching the monster, but becoming infected by it. She achieved the ultimate true crime goal. She finally felt something. And that feeling was the ecstasy of completing the collection. It's this reaction of gleeful completion that makes us question whether Kellyanne is a demented girl with a dragon tattoo wannabe, or a Lulu Van Houten for the digital age. And that's what makes her final act such an excruciating gauntlet of tension. Kellyanne doesn't give the video to the police. Instead, she inflicts it on the family. She breaks into the victim's mother's home, performs a grotesque and appalling reenactment by taking a selfie posed as the murdered daughter, and leaves the snuff film for the mother to find. This is not justice. This is not closure. It's a narcissistic act of performance. In this moment, she has completed her transformation from voyeur to participant. She's more than just a fan of Chevalier's work. She has become his co-curator, inflicting the final traumatic wound herself. Red Rooms is a masterpiece of psychological horror because its monster is never seen. It can't be. The only way the monster can be seen is when the TV is turned off and the dark reflection of the HD TV screen looks back at you. The monster is the consumption itself. It's the screen that separates us, the anonymity that emboldens us, and the digital code that compresses unimaginable human suffering into an MP4 that can be bought, sold, and collected as content. Plant's film is a concerning and necessary one. He suggests that our relationship with this media isn't passive. It's an active process of reconstruction. We are remaking these horrors in our own image, based on our own anxieties and our own desires. Unlike Megan is Missing, which drapes itself in child advocacy while portraying the seduction, exploitation, and degradation of the two girls at its heart, Red Rooms turns the focus to the people who watch Megan is Missing with a sense of morbid fascination. Kellyanne, the Lady of Shalott, both embodies and subverts the true crime fan. She is the ultimate consumer, primed by her digital tower to be sick of shadows. She isn't looking for the comfort of a solved case. She is the obvious logical conclusion of a culture that has mistaken voyeurism for empathy, consumption for praxis. She found the darkest place on the internet, the digital manifestation of pure nihilistic cruelty, and in her night, she found her god. It's a film that truly understands the horror of the modern age.
Puis elle disait plein de shit raciste aussi parce que souvent c'est ça qui arrive là, quand tu laisses un AI rôder sur l'internet.
A terrorist fist jab?
That the scariest thing in the room isn't a ghost or a demon, but the glowing, indifferent screen reflecting our own enraptured faces. Stay warm, stay safe, wash your hands, return your shopping carts, unplug for a while, and I'll see you next time.